Welcome back to Rollin with Olan. I'm Jeff Olan, your host. Today I have a really special guest on. I've known her since she was quite young. I don't know how young, but quite young. Let's just leave it at that. But I'd like to welcome to the show a stunt double, stunt coordinator, second unit, director, my friend, and a just beautiful person, Courtney Schwartz. Hello, Courtney.
Oh, thank you so much, Jeff. I'm so happy to be here and get to hang with you.
I am so happy to have you. Honestly, this has just been one I've really been looking forward to. Having on the show, talking about stunts, the stunt world, everything about it. Um, but I'd like to, first start out with, just asking you, like I know you did, and I heard this from, your father, that you did your first stunt when you were 8 years old. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I did start very young. As a child, I didn't know that I wanted to do stunts. I was actually a ballet dancer very intensely my whole uh, early years. But my parents were both in the film industry. That's how they'd met. And so I grew up hanging out on sets and getting to be around it a lot, and they needed kids in this Western movie for these fun scenes. And my dad had thrown my brother and I both in to do stunts. I was kicking a can, walking in a Western town, across a little dirt road in a little Western dress and tiny little 8-year-old bonnet, and a horse and carriage comes ripping through the town. My brother's actually in that, doing stunts, doubling an actor. And right before the horse and carriage gets close to me, my dad, dressed as a cowboy, runs and tackles me out of the way. So it was really cute. It was a whole family event. Unfortunately, it didn't make the final cut, so it's all just memories now.
Did that devastate you that it didn't make the final cut
Um, I think
at
just
8 years old?
not so much because I don't know that I knew that stunts were something I would end up in later. So it was a really fun experience. But later on, when I was 15 and really dove into stunts, I was like, dang, that would be really cool to have that video of that child stunt.
Yeah. And you mentioned, you were like this elite ballet dancer in New York City. I know your brother is as well, and you've also you're a martial artist,
Yep.
and you've got all kinds of background to do stunts and that. But when was your earliest like indication that stunt work was what you wanted to do?
Yeah. It's a great question. I was so immersed in ballet from when I was 4 years old until I was about 14. I'd had some injuries and was just kind of feeling a little bit boxed in by all the requirements. It's just such a physically demanding and mentally demanding art. So yeah, I was dancing when I was really young. My brother and I moved to New York um, as I was 11, he was 12, to start dancing with the New York City Ballet School, the School of American Ballet. So we were deep in that, and I don't think it had crossed my mind till later what a great transition stunt work could be from that as a career. When I was about 15 and I was dealing with some of my ballet injuries and kind of taking a break, I think I realized how much I believe I was recovering from surgery, watching all these action movies,
Hmm.
and I realized that that would be so cool and so fun. But I didn't know at first if it's something that I would be able to do. I thought, oh, these people have these backgrounds in whatever race car driving, sports, extreme, just high level athletes of all different kinds. And I didn't really know for a while that what place as a ballet dancer I could have in it. But luckily, I started really young. So when I was 15, I made the switch from ballet, just dove straight into stunts. I started, I loved watching the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That was a big inspiration. So I started with martial arts, and my martial arts teachers, they were stunt people as well. Pat Johnson, he was Steve McQueen's stunt double. He was the stunt
Oh my.
coordinator for the Karate Kid movie, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the 90s, just a bunch of incredible stuff. So with that, I started martial arts and realized it was a lot like ballet. It's like you're kicking the air, but with a
Movement.
purpose.
Hmm.
you have a reason behind the movement, and it's not just to look pretty. But with martial arts, there's a lot of similarities and some cool differences. You get. I think that was something I really was missing in ballet was for you're supposed to look so dainty and light, even though you're so strong and powerful. And in stunts and martial arts, you get to often be strong and powerful uh, and show that physicality.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, it's all about movement. And of course, in ballet and dancing and in stunts, I mean, you have to be really, able to move in order to do the stunts that stunt people do. I mean, all kinds of things. I mean, we know how dangerous it can be, and yet it's fun. You got to make it fun, right? If you're trying to get into it or you're doing it like you are, you got to have fun with it. But it's also something that is quite dangerous. I mean, it's stunt work. It's not like you're going into acting or you're going into makeup or wardrobe. So for you to do that and at a young age and consider that and want to do it, I mean, that's a big thing.
Yeah, yeah, and I do think, yeah, luckily ballet was a pretty dangerous background too, just injury wise. The odds are probably similar. But yeah, what was really cool when I was first realizing I wanted to do stunts, my dad, who is a first assistant director and a legend who's done so many amazing things, he introduced me to this wonderful stunt coordinator named Ernie Orsatti. He's no longer with us.
Legend,
But
right?
yeah, he was a legend. He was all over. He'd do like 4 shows in a day. Like he was just all up in the mix. When I first spoke to him, I told him I wanted to do stunts. He said, "You gotta get a pen and paper. Here are some skills that you can learn that would help you." And so I'd written it all down. It was get scuba certified for water work, get a motorcycle license, go to stunt driving school. Rick
Hmm.
Stevens at the time was um, the spot, the motion picture driving clinic, it's still around. He said, go to this person's house. They do high falls there. Go to this other place. They're going to do air rams. And so I kind of had started gathering a repertoire of all these skills at that point that I could start working on simultaneously. So that was kind of at 15 years old, like that was my high school and college education. Instead, was just trying to learn all these new skills, and it was so fun and exciting, and also scary to be putting myself into all these brand new things. I think I started horseback riding then. Um, Working on wire work, just so many different things. So after I think about a year of training, I went back to him. It's like, Ernie, I've done it. I've got my motorcycle license. I've been training at the places you told me about. I've been to the driving school. I've got my scuba cert. And so he'd given me my first couple stunt jobs after that.
That's incredible, Courtney. I'm telling you, first of all, to work with a guy like Ernie and work with, all the legends back in the day. And there were so many in the stunt industry, and there are now. There's so many people, even like yourself, who's now been in it for what, 18, 20 years, give or take.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just something you just say, hey, I want to be a stunt person and, go jump off a building. You put in the hard work and sweat in order to do it. And you did that at an early age in your teens, which is incredible. I mean, you concentrated on doing that instead of just, going out and playing in with your friends from school. So for that itself, it's really something else. You really had to put in, really hard work to do it.
Yeah, luckily things are a little less scary when you're young as far as getting hurt. I don't really have the same concerns. You're kind of just like, sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad I got in all that hard training back then when I was willing.
Yeah, and you mentioned your dad. I'm very good friends with your dad, a legend as well, Marty Schwartz, first AD, and absolutely probably has done more movies and television shows than anybody. Um, but it wasn't because your dad or mom were in the business. You put in the hard work, and anybody who puts in the hard work deserves to be where you are right now. And that's something that this show is all about, letting people know that anybody could do anything they put their mind to,
Sure.
as long as you put in the hard work and you're really serious about doing it. You have to focus in. And a lot of it is about relationships. You talk about Ernie, and you've built a lot of different relationships, I'm sure, with people. Your resume is it's so extensive. It's unbelievable. You've been busy since you were 8 years old, it seems like. You've built a lot of relationships. One of the people you've worked with quite a bit is Jill Brown.
Oh, yes.
Tell us about your relationship. Well, I say your work relationship with Jill.
Yeah, Jill is yeah, she's incredible to work with and also one of my closest friends. We met both as members of the Stunt Women's Association, which I was really honored to get to join. And Jill is a legend. She doubles Tina Fey and has for years. She doubled J Lo for a long time. And she's just a tough, hysterical, fun person to be around. She's such a cool representation of women in stunts that are coordinating and are there in the mix. Um, and yeah, it's really fun to get to work with her. I've gotten to work with her on a bunch of fun stuff. We worked with Nicole Burke on
Oh,
Dead
sure.
to Me, which I know she was on your podcast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I actually did that to me. She did that to me, and you did too. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and then
incredible.
Nicole and Jill actually went to college together, which
Oh
is
my God,
yeah.
that's amazing.
Um,
Small world,
I
right?
know it's fun when you hear stuff like that people from other places end up, here in this little
Yeah,
community.
yeah.
Um, yeah, but Jill's the best. I worked with her on Mean Girls, which was so much fun getting to work with Tina Fey. We had some really cool like girl fights, and it was awesome to. It's just not very often that you get to have so many stunt women together, getting creative. And Jill, as the leader and stunt coordinator, she kind of made the space for us all to kind of get to pitch in and give ideas for our own actions. So there's one particular scene that was amazing in Mean Girls. It's a very long shot going down a hallway through this fight. It's everything's blowing up, the world is burning. There's dancers everywhere as well, and mixed in with the stunt people. And each of us had our own little beat as the camera passes through. And Jill would play it out like a rhyme. She'd write it on. We were shooting in a school, so she'd write it on the whiteboard. And each stunt had it was a song, this person, that person, that person. So you kind of go through the line and you see all these funny things happening. And then at the very end was my stunt, which was falling through the ceiling in front of the camera, just landing the ground. You're like, what is going on in this school? Just mayhem.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. But to do things like that, you have to have a really great team around you. You have to, the stunt coordinator, the other stunt people, you know, everybody from, the director on down. I mean, the the seriousness of it on the set is something else. Can you explain like what is happening as you guys are setting up the stunt? I mean, I don't know if you guys are, you're looking at various things. You might even have little cars you're looking at and different things, for when you're in situations like that. But can you explain like what is the atmosphere on set and what's going around not only in your little circle with the stunt people, but everything else? What is happening, especially when there's fire and all that? Can you explain
Mhm.
to us?
Yeah, it's a really cool, interesting space because for some people, we're such a tight community, and we really do have to rely on each other, like for life and death. And we have so much fun together. So it's cool in those situations to kind of see the turn of a group of us that are all normally the funnest friends, and then it's go time. So we all snap into this safety mode. Specifically for stunts, I think it kind of like it draws a certain kind of person where I think that we all really rise to these occasions in a cool way. And it's fun to see everybody and everybody on the set in general when it's safety is concerned. You see people kind of turn off other parts and they just lock into that safety mode, which is really cool because I think that you feel this atmosphere. We're all really looking out for each other when we're all on the same page. And you see something, you say something, you might see something down there that could affect your friend's stunt, and so you could call stop the action. I'm worried about that for my friend there. So it's cool that it really does feel like a community, and the entire set is part of it. Usually with these stunts, like everybody's on board, and we'll have a safety meeting. We'll talk through what exactly the action is going to be, what the game plan is if something goes wrong. and everything's really, I think that people think of us as these kind of crazy daredevils, but I think in these situations you'd see it's really not the case. It's all incredibly calculated and professional and well thought through, and we're all people that we are like risk aware. We're not risk happy, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely. I've had many friends who have been stunt people. It's very calculated. I mean, it's by the number, literally by the number. Because if you're off just the slightest, a lot of things could go wrong. So you personally, how do you like if you're jumping out? Well, if you're being thrown out of a window, okay, or if you're racing through fire or whatever. How do you personally prep for something like that in your mind? Because you have your whole team, you have everybody who's like you said, calculated, trying to figure it out, this and that, whatever. But you have to get up that morning and it's you that this is happening to. How do you personally prep for something like that?
Oh gosh. Um,
A lot
I
of praying, a lot of praying.
yeah. Just try and keep the nerves calm. I think something that I've heard a hero of mine, Melissa Stubbs, she's an incredible stunt woman and coordinator, say before is like it's not an option for this to go wrong. You have your head is completely set on what you're going to do, how you're going to execute it. Um, there you of course think through all the worst case scenarios, but those aren't a possibility. So I think it does take a lot of mental strength and kind of focus on how to get through it. And yeah, each stunt is a little bit different. It's been interesting for me having started at a young age and learned so many different skills that kind of to keep them all up over the years. Certain things I fall in and out of training and practicing as often. So sometimes I'll have to brush up on a skill or kind of revisit it and spend a while diving into it. Um, but I think a lot of it is you kind of you set yourself up for success, and like you said, you do all this hard work, all this training, all this stuff to get ready for it, so that when the actual moment comes, um, I'm still gonna be nervous and in my head about all the things that could go wrong. But I always know if it's a job that I've said yes to that I'm doing, that I'm ready and that I can do it. Um,
You know,
Especially yeah, after this many years, you kind of get to know you get an idea of how things are going to go, which is nice. It's very relieving. Back at the start, I think I was a lot more nervous.
yeah, of course, of
Yeah.
course. But now it's easier. And what about like when you're doing something like this? Do you tell family? Do you tell your closest what you're going to be doing? Do you tell your wife? Do you tell your dad, your mom, what you're going to be doing, or do you wait until after the fact?
No, I do tell them, but sometimes it comes with like, but it's not that bad because, and that's just I'm trying to make it easier on them.
Because you're doing it.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's just gonna be a little easy, light on
Nothing.
fire off of a building. It's just a tiny one.
Right. Right. It's nothing. Just a big fireball and you going through a window.
Yeah, I think that my dad is stoked because he loves stunts and he's done stunts and he, is just always been a part of this world in that way. But my mom, who'd really wanted me to do ballet, it's taken a little bit more time for her to calm down her gut reaction to that kind of statement. She'll just say,
Yeah.
"No, don't do that."
Yeah.
Okay, mom.
Well, your dad got you to do that. He wanted you to do this. Your mom wanted you to do ballet. Your mom had your brother's doing it. Your brother's a very successful ballet artist in New York, right? You
Yeah,
want to
he's still
briefly
dancing.
talk about him?
Yeah, him and I both danced together and had moved to New York to dance at the New York City Ballet School, the School of American Ballet, and he is still there actually performing on those stages at the Metropolitan Opera. Um, it's funny because as children he was a gymnast and I was a ballet dancer, and he actually started ballet to try to help with some gymnastics injuries, and then kind of ended up falling in love with it. And ballet, yeah, it's also a different kind of world for men and women. It's a lot easier for the guys, so no wonder he was just having a blast. and is still at it. And I think my parents were definitely in for a surprise when we kind of switched trajectories. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
actually, I'd like to learn gymnastics.
Yeah, yeah. Well, your parents are both very proud of both of you, especially your father. When he and I have conversations, it's a lot about you guys. But
Aw,
let
that's
me ask you this: when you are working with an actor, actress, a name or otherwise, how close do you get with, how close in contact are you working with them if you're doing a stunt for them? Can you
yeah.
give us an idea of that?
Sure, yeah, and it really can depend on the stunt. Sometimes we have these really cool opportunities to collaborate with actors on the training for the action too. So you could work with them to get them to be able to do as much of the character that is safe and that they're capable and comfortable with. So let's say it's a fight scene, we might get to do the fight together a bunch of times. And kind of work together on all the moves and parts of it, which is really fun. And yeah, when we get to do that, it's cool to collaborate on the character and get to dive a little bit deeper into it. Um, yeah, and then other times, the set, it just depends on the pacing because a cool thing about stunts is we get to work on it, so many different kinds of projects, day playing. So some shows I won't even ever get to meet the person that I doubled because I'll be there on a different day, maybe doing a pickup shot or something. But it's always the coolest when we all get to really collaborate together um, and work through, yeah, what we're gonna do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you've had like I said, your resume is like a who's who. You've done so much, and you've got some great things. And as a matter of fact, if people have to see your Super Bowl commercial that it was just on this past year,
Oh
the Super Bowl commercial for
yeah.
Doritos. Can you tell us a little bit about that commercial? It was, I mean, I loved it. It was one of my favorites, but
Uh,
please tell us about it.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, this was such a fun project. It's really cool Doritos commercial. It's directed by a duo called Alaska. They're incredible, like very fun artistic directors team. And so in this commercial, it's the Doritos Dinamita. It has Jenna Ortega in it. Her abuelas, the two grandmas, they start getting into a fight with the guy in the grocery aisle about this bag of Dinamita Doritos. And that fight kind of it ensues into this insane chase scene through the city, which was actually Paramount Studios. And so the grannies start chasing this guy first in their mobility scooters. So we had these mobility scooters that were custom made by the special effects team that did an incredible job. They put basically like a lawnmower two-stroke engine
Wow.
inside this little electric mobility scooter, and then they added the controls and stuff from like a dirt bike kind of motorcycle. So this thing would like rip wheelies. We had little wheelie bars on the back, and they were so fast and squirrely. They'd go crazy. So we chased him with that. We end up crashing into his car. The chase continues. We end up getting launched off the scooters. Um, Flying through the air, smashing into things. I end up jumping through a big glass window. We end up actually fighting with him for the bag of the Doritos. It gets thrown up in the air. For some reason, we're up in the high floor. I grab this razor scooter, or the character I'm doubling grabs this razor scooter and hooks it over this power line, and the two of us just kind of zip line holding on to a razor scooter all the way down. We find this guy and we just kick him and take his Doritos. Um, but all of,
Hysterical.
yeah, it's all super fun. But should have maybe said this at the start. The fun part is we are doubling the grannies, and so they'd created I believe it's Legacy Special Effects. They did like the mask for Iron Man and all these great things. They made these masks. They made these masks for the other double and I to wear to look more like the actresses. So they've done a facial scan of them and created these masks to put on. So we were doing all these stunts with a full face mask on that looked just so funny and fun.
it was so fun and so funny. And when I was watching it, and I've seen it many times, I go to YouTube and check it out. But when I was watching, I really could not tell because of the face mask. I could not tell which one you were. I knew you were one of them. I had heard you were there, and over time I figured it out. But yeah, it's hard to. And you guys, I mean, you're flying through the air. Oh my God, you had to be wearing some sort of pads when you came down and you landed on that car because you were pretty up. You were high up in the air.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I was wearing a lot of pads actually. It's funny because you see the clip and all you see is these two what look like grannies flying through the air and crash landing on the hood of the car and rolling off. But what's happening behind the scenes is like all my friends that are there working and our amazing stunt coordinator Tim, they're like on the ground below us there to catch us, and they're just looking at their faces, cracking up at us. Hitting the car so hard, I ended up putting in like 9 tailbone pads. So people were like, "Ooh, that must have really hurt." It wasn't actually that bad. I just I had an idea of where I was going to land, so I just added so much padding, and luckily I did land where I'd planned.
Yeah. Was that a one take or how many takes
We did a
did it
few
take?
takes, and each one was a little bit different. What was fun with that is the first take happened, and actually I have the video of it from behind the scenes. Everyone goes oof oof, and then they say, "I don't know if the product is going to be okay with Granny breaking her back. Can you please do
Oh,
one that doesn't look like you broke your back?" Was the request, and I'm like, "Yes, I can." So same thing, a little bit lighter. And then they said for the next one, let's do one where you don't just lay on the ground. This time you run away. She keeps moving. So we made little tweaks and adjustments based on what they might find works in the final edit. I think they use the take where I break my back, which is awesome.
wow.
Yeah,
Really? Oh
I
my
mean I
God.
don't break it, but it looks like it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, in other like jobs that you have, how many takes does it take, or is it? I mean, it's different. Every job is different. When you are going through, like you said earlier, you're going through a window, or you're being set on fire, or you're crashing in a car. I mean, they can't always get that in one take. I know everybody, production would like that, but it just doesn't happen that way. Um, have you had to do any stunt that you could recall that you had to do multiple takes and it was not the funnest stunt?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's something, when you're doing something gnarly, you're laying there on the ground afterward and you're waiting to hear if they say, "We got it," or "Let's go again."
Yeah,
So yeah, that's definitely a moment of anticipation after those that you're like, are they gonna? Okay, they want to do it again. What'll happen with like going through glass? Sometimes they'll only have so many models that they've built of
mhm.
breakaway, so that would be a limiter sometimes. Will only have as many takes, so that kind of puts the pressure on. You're like, you
Yeah,
only have this
you're
many
right.
takes to break. You gotta get everything right, um, which is tricky because there's just always so many factors
Yeah,
to get everything right. Um, yeah, but generally speaking, I don't know. It's cool to get to go again, especially if there's like notes or something to change or something interesting to do. Sometimes it'll be go again, but just the same way. And I'm always just hoping, like, I hope they're changing camera or something. Like, isn't we're just
yeah,
okay?
yeah. Multiple cameras and everything, but also when they say go again, you're okay with that because you want to do it again. Obviously, you enjoy it in most cases, and you get paid.
Yeah.
Every time you do a stunt, I think it's still working that way, right? Every time you do it, you get paid
Um,
something else, right?
it kind of depends as their stunt adjustments come. The coordinator will kind of determine that with the producers. And yeah, that's the case often for bigger stunts. We kind of just generally have like an industry standard for adjustments where
Hmm.
we all kind of have a similar understanding of what kind of stunts are worth what. So yeah, if it is something that's requiring a lot of either danger, or it could just be special skill, then you would get a stunt adjustment to kind of
Yeah,
adjust for yeah what you're doing.
for whatever that is. Do you ever envision doing a stunt that you like? Is there ever anything that you think about like a stunt that you'd like to do? that you haven't done?
Oh wow, that's fun. Um, yeah, maybe I can. What's the word?
Dream.
I lost it.
Like what you might think about, like have you ever envisioned like well, I whether it's helicopter work or anything else, that's something you haven't done but you'd like to do?
Yeah. You know, I'd always wanted to do some fun bird scooter stunts. I love bird scooters, and someone just called me for that, so I'm really excited. I was trying, yeah, the word I was trying to think of is like materialize it. By whatever I say now,
Yeah.
maybe I can make it materialize. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think what are some stunts I'd love to do? There's just so many. It honestly is hard to say because we just get to have so much fun. Like a day of go kart racing, sure. Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it's all gonna
Yeah.
be fun.
Yeah. And do you work with helicopters a lot?
I have a fair amount. I yeah, actually have a fun couple of jobs I've done with helicopters. One of them that was interesting is I was working on a pilot for a project in Palmdale, and they'd had a lockup for the street, and I'd done a bunch of passes working with an armed vehicle. So the car actually has an arm with a camera on it that was filming me. So I knew the road well, and we'd been shooting, and I knew this bike well, and I was wearing a full race suit, riding this GSXR sport bike. And they're like, okay, now's the big shot with the helicopter behind you. They're going to be tracking you while you ride down the road. Go as fast as you're comfortable. And I was like, okay, I'm pretty comfortable. I've been riding up and down the road. I know the lockup, know the bike. So I ended up maxing out the bike at its top speed, which was I think 165 miles an hour or so. And I go down a way, and I'm like, wow, this is wild and fun. But I don't see the helicopter, and so I'd also lost reception on the walkie after a while. So I turn around and I go back, and they're like, you lost that helicopter so fast. That helicopter couldn't go above 120 miles an hour. We thought you were going to go like 60. And I was like, you said as fast as I'm comfortable. This was one of my earlier, in my earlier stunt days of going a little faster and harder. But
When
yeah,
you were 8. Yeah.
yeah,
Go on.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. um, yeah, but it was a lot of fun
Yeah.
to get to do. Yeah, and then I had another really fun one with a helicopter and another motorcycle chase where it's a Ruffles commercial, and this bag of Ruffles I'm chasing is in the helicopter. So I'm on a bike cruising, riding through the canyons, through the city, through traffic, just trying to get this helicopter. And eventually I get to the 6th Street Bridge. Um, and stand up on the bike and then launch and jump off and grab onto the skis of the helicopter off the bridge. Um,
Oh wow.
yeah, it's a super
That
cool.
had to be cool.
It was very cool, but it also was shot in a way that's not exactly what happened. It was done in different pieces. So we did the helicopter stuff on a stage. We did have a helicopter we were shooting with, but this particular part they pieced together. So the bike was actually on a mechanical track that would move it back and forth and keep it upright. So when I jump off of it, it doesn't fall over. And there actually is no helicopter. I'm just jumping and reaching for air,
Oh
pretending it's
wow.
a helicopter.
Wow.
Yeah, and so the final shot looks super cool, but it was a little scary in that rehearsal for it actually something had went wrong. They did a test with a weight bag that was the same weight
Oh
as me.
wow.
So the bag is there on my line. There's a big crane that's hooked up over the 6th Street Bridge, and when the bag test went off, it actually swung down, dropped down, and swung back into the bridge, which was scary to see.
Wow.
Um, so that was a little nerve wracking right before doing the jump, but good thing we practice and rehearse so these things can get ironed out. And it ended up working out great and safely. And it was a really fun project. It's a Ruffles Mexico
Rough
commercial.
commercial. Well, it's like you said, everything's calculated. You got to figure it all out, and those things. I mean, jumping and it's just air up there. I mean, it's. I mean, like you said, it worked out great, which is the best ending. It worked out great, and you did it, and it was a great job. Speaking of another great job that I know you worked on, and I know a lot of people listening are no doubt fans. But Stranger Things. Tell us about what you were doing on all last season. Tell us about what you're doing.
Oh yeah, so yeah, the last season, season 4 of Stranger Things, I doubled for the character 11, and I got to do some fun stuff.
Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown, yeah. So she has these superpowers and gets into all these crazy antics. And yeah, there are a lot of really fun stunts. I actually got an Emmy nomination for one of them, which was really
Yes,
cool. And
yes. I was gonna. Yeah.
yeah, and our
Congratulations on that.
thank you so much. And yeah, the stunt team from the season won the Screen Actors Guild Stunt Ensemble Award that year, which was awesome too. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, but the most the culmination of all the stunts and stuff, the one that ended up getting the Emmy nomination was a lot of fun. It's this big wire work sequence where there's a character named Vecna who also has superpowers, can move things and people with his mind. So, like 11. So, in this scene, she's kind of battling him in this way that just has her basically like a rag doll being thrown across this giant gym in multiple directions. So,
Hmm.
I think the first one, it's just like a launch backwards, landing in a table, and then get dragged by the foot and get thrown across the whole gym and land on this other table, and then get thrown across the room. And I went through this big breakaway lattice as well. And there's another stunt woman who's doubling for the character Max, and she also is getting thrown into these gym bleachers and smashed and dragged around as well. So this scene was a lot of fun. It was really cool to have this like explosive, big wire work smashing kind of stuff. And yeah, it was just it was a really fun time, and also it was yeah, just like hmm, I'm sorry, I'm kind
It's
of
a
looking.
heck of a show. It's a
Yeah,
heck of a show, isn't it?
yeah,
And any time you're working on a show like that, and by the way, again, congratulations to you and all the other your fellow stunt folks on that for being Emmy nominated in 2023. Incredible, and your awards through SAG and AFTRA, and there's so much, not enough. I think awards out there for the stunt people. I mean, you guys do so much incredible work, and look, it's taken a long time for people to understand that and see how much you guys do. I mean, years ago there was like it didn't seem like there was anything. Like I don't even know. Does are the Oscars they're thinking about doing something? I don't think they have yet. Or what do you know about that?
yeah. I know it's been a big topic, and it's so cool that the stunt community has been getting more support from the public around it, because it's something that stunt folks have been talking about for years, of wanting to be included in the Oscars and being really kind of confused as to why
Hmm,
we're not.
yeah.
So yeah, I've heard that it's being reviewed right now. There's talk of it, which is great. It sounds like they're trying to work it out and iron out the details. I hope it's not like the breakdancing in the Olympics that
No.
that we show up once, we have one weird year, and then they take us out. But
No, 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 no. They're going to get to it, and it's just taking time, right? Everything is about timing. They're going to get to it, and it's going to stick around for a long time. I mean, you guys, it's a lot of the stunts are life and death, serious, and we all know, and we pray for their families. Some of the people, unfortunately, that did lose their lives or got really injured in doing stunts in movies and television shows. And so, what you guys do is incredible. So I know once it is out there, and once the Oscars do something, it will continue on. I mean, when people see it and they hear about it, and that's why this show is so special today to talk about it. It's not just it's. it's the relationships you build. It's prepping, doing everything, calculating everything. It's not fun and games, but it can be fun as long as you have a good team around you and you know what you're doing. It's
Sure.
not for the amateur to just go and try it and believe that they're going to all of a sudden be in every movie and television show. It doesn't work that way. Um, it was a hard, a lot of work, a lot of hard work. And then you got into, the stunt union and all that. Tell us about the stuntman's union that you're in.
Oh, yeah, the Stunt Women's
Someone.
Association. Yeah, it is the first stunt women's group that started. So it's been around a long time. It's just it's really cool, elite group of stunt women. It was a huge honor for me to get to join because when I first learned about stunts and wanted to do them, I was obsessed with looking at their website and reading about all the skills. So I would go to the Stunt Women's Association site and just read through each member. It'll list their skills and what their background is, and I just remember being blown away. Like, wow, they can do so many different things. This is incredible. Um, and so I was kind of like a weird fan stalker for a little while. So now getting to become one, which is, yeah, it's so cool and such an honor, and it's just a great place of community. It's amazing that yeah, historically women are very underrepresented as stunt coordinators, as they are in a lot of creative and admitted and um,
Crew, everything across the board.
yeah, yeah. Historically, women are more underrepresented in the industry in general, and specifically in stunts. I think that when people think of a stunt coordinator, they think of the cool big cowboy guys that have always done it. But what's awesome in our group is there's so many incredibly qualified women that are stunt coordinating and performers, and it's just great that we have this community of support for each other, so we can always like lean on each other, and we get to hire each other and share expertises. Perhaps like one member um, is an incredible car specialist, so someone will be have a car stunt and want some help, and you've got a sister in the Stunt Women's Association who's been there and done it all, who can help guide you. And those moments are just so cool because it takes something that can be big and scary, and when you have that kind of community um, and of people with this experience, it takes a lot of the pressure off. You're like, wow, I have resources to contact the best of the best if I ever have a question or if I need help.
Yeah, yeah, and you also talk about like hiring others, and because you're not only a stunt woman, but you're also a stunt coordinator and this and that, and it's when you're when you have to when you have to when you have to match somebody and you have to match an actor, and we're talking about size and the looks and everything like that, that could be I mean that's sometimes can be difficult finding the exact match. I mean, I know it just as casting and finding a photo double.
Mm-hmm.
I'm involved in a lot of the meetings, and we're talking to stunt coordinators, and just to find that person that not only is the same size, same hair color, everything. I mean, of course, you could use wigs, but we try to look for somebody, and I'm sure you guys do too, that can really match that actor or actress and can do the stunt, that whatever it is. So,
Yeah.
what's that process like for you?
Um, yeah, that's such a great point with the specific skill sets, especially as I mentioned, since some people can come from so many different backgrounds. You got folks that were incredible BMX riders, you got gymnasts, you got snowboarders, just all kinds of different people. Um, it's a really cool thing having done it for a long time. I think finding people, it can be really helpful to lean into the community. There's some websites and stuff like that people use now. But basically, yeah, I think that it's a great thing in our industry that you can always reach out to friends for referrals, or check if they know somebody, or if they know about somebody that you're interested in using. Maybe they've worked together before. Um, there's a lot of websites out there that people can pay to be on. If you're a union stunt performer, you can put your stuff up on there so coordinators can kind of type in specifically what they're looking for, like the height, the
Oh, that's
size,
great.
yeah, and the skill set. There's a few websites like that are awesome, but I think um, it's also, yeah, it's just helpful to have such a great deep community, because usually people will just start coming to mind from so many years and so many friends, and like it's such a cool thing when you get to hire your friends.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially if they're, health wise, they're still in the business, still in the game, still doing it. So I have a question for you. If you, because you've been in the industry for so long, now is your time to help others and giving advice to anybody out there who's listening who may want to, maybe become a stunt woman or a stunt guy or whatever. What kind of advice can you give to the listeners around the world?
Wow. Um, Gosh, I think that, as you'd said, a lot of it is just putting in that time and that effort. I think that something that I didn't realize when I was starting is how many things that I really could learn and become really good at if I give it the time and energy and persistence. And if you're okay with being bad at it until you're good at it.
There you go.
So I think that a lot of it is sticking through it and being willing to sit with the uncomfortable moments of being bad until you're good. Um, and then I think also just, yeah, putting yourself out there and finding the community, because to me that's been really one of my favorite parts about stunts is getting to have this like giant extensive family of people that are looking out for you, people that'll put your name in for something or might know of a show going on that they'll tell you about or introduce you to somebody. It's all such a social network that kind of you can spread out and find all these little pockets of people. So I think that if you, yeah, you work hard and you meet people, and I think that it, yeah, there's no reason it can't happen. And I also think that stunts historically coming from rodeo, western, stuff like that. We've got so many like second generations and families of stunts. There's just so many people that have been doing this for so long. Um, and I think that um, we have such incredible knowledge, and so it's really cool. I recommend that everybody gets to learn about the history of stunts too. I think that's something that might be missed today, but when I was starting, is a really big deal is to know who everybody is before you, to be that weird fan stalker. Because if you have these idols that you can kind of grow into their shoes, it's really exciting to be able to take the steps toward being like them. And also, additionally, I think it'd be really cool if more different people come into stunts. Like, we need doubles for all different kinds of people, all different sizes, all different ethnicities, all different skill sets. And so, I think it'd be cool as a community just to welcome in more different kinds of people, so that when they're looking for a double uh, for a very specific match, it's a community of um, yeah, different kinds of people.
Well said. And it's a community of support. Everybody in the stunt community supports each other, like you said, greatly. It's a great community. I've worked with stunt people for many, many, many years, obviously. And we go back to when I started in this crazy industry 40 some years ago. There was very few female stunt women,
Yeah,
and now there are, quite a few of you, as there should be, and even more. And like you just said, uh, bring into the fold, people from all walks of life, every ethnicity. If you feel you can do it, don't just feel like you're going to walk in and someone's going to hire you. You have to do the homework ahead of time,
sure.
in any capacity. Excuse me. From riding motorcycles to being a great skier to doing your own stunts at 8 years old, like Courtney did, or however, and whatever you do, just make sure that you do it. And you'll get that experience to do this in the future. Um, I want to wrap up with, basically, is there, what other story do you have, crazy story that you might have of a stunt that you did? I love hearing these.
Oh gosh. It's really tricky to choose. I feel so lucky to have gotten to do so many fun things. It's like every day you just never know what you're in for with stunts. Um it could be anything from like you're just like running in high heels to grabbing onto a helicopter, jumping through glass, whatever. A really fun, just kind of strange one was a bunch of zombies for a show called Fear the Walking Dead. We're a big pack of zombies, but we're all somehow stuck in these rapids. So we're shooting in outside of Austin, Texas, in these live rapids, which was really cool and interesting. Um, to get to work around. So I'd say there's about like 15 of us kind of just like bobbing around, and we'd go through these different waterfalls, all kind of falling. But it was a really interesting scene to be a part of because as a zombie, there's a lot of things you have to think about. Zombies, when they fall, they don't catch themselves, so you have to just take it to the face. Zombies, they just don't act normal. So when zombies don't swim, they're floating. Zombies don't touch their gross face masks when they have a bunch of stuff glued onto them and they're falling off. They don't know that's there. They're just zombies. But we're all going down these rapids, which was it's a very dangerous thing. We had to take it very seriously, but also pretty fun. And then we get to the end of the run, and the first zombie pops up and looks down. She's like, "What's that?" We all start looking. We're covered in what looks like leeches.
Oh no.
And now we're just zombies floating around that can't get off these leeches either. You just gotta leave your leeches. Zombies don't pick off leeches. I don't actually know what they were to this day. We were thinking maybe like a fly larva or something, but it really
Oh,
did take a weird situation and make it weirder when we all started to realize that.
wow, you had to stay in character.
Yeah, yeah, you can't crack.
Yeah, you can't
Definitely
crack.
can't crack.
No, that's great. That's great.
I
And what
guess.
did you do? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, just to add to it, the hair department was a little bit upset. I'd lost this clump of hair that was glued on as part of my zombie. It had gotten lost in the rapids, and at the end of the day, they're like, somebody lost a very expensive wig.
Oh my
I'm
God,
like,
that's crazy.
I'm so sorry. It was a patch of hair glued to my head, and I was in rapids. But
Yeah, you were in Rapids and you had those little things all over you. So, hey, they should have had another one.
we do what we can.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But just like you just said, and explaining that story, which is incredible, because here you are in the rapids, and you as a stunt person, stunt woman, are able to go out and do all these crazy things, like you said, and they're fun. I mean, it's fun as long as you got to be careful and you know what you're doing and it's calculated, but you get the opportunity to really do things that, very few people actually get to do.
Sure.
And I think that's wonderful. Do you have any story from Furious 7? You also were a stunt woman in that.
I got to work with my dad on that, which is so cool. But I don't really have anything specific. I was just driving a car while big stunts were going on, and just
Yeah, that's nothing to
being
you, but
there.
still driving a car as big stunts are going on, I think it's pretty exciting. And working with your dad, that's pretty exciting too.
Yes.
Courtney, I cannot thank you enough. First of all, you look great. It's great to see you. Like I said, we do go way back, and this is really a lot of fun. I thank you so much for rolling with Olan. It was just fantastic having you on.
Oh, Jeff, you're the best. It was so great to get to talk with you. I was so excited when you reached out to me for this. You've always just been such a cool, incredible, kind person to be around. I'm always so excited when I get to see you on set. I hope we get to work together more.
I hope we do too. Thank you again, and thank you everybody again for tuning in to Rolling with Olan. See you next time.